Democrats that have a stranglehold and try to bully people into voting one way or the other. I know with my own family, even when I decided that I wanted to be exposed to fresh ideas that gave me hope for the future, and things, and I wanted to examine ideas that gave me some hope that we could tackle problems using a different method rather than spending money and having government intervention. Coming from a family of Democrats, us being Irish Americans, I know that my family was disappointed that I was a Republican.
Oh, but, really?
And I know that in the black community, that if you broadcast that you're a Republican, there are dire consequences, and you can be ostracized from your neighborhood.
It used to be. It's not as bad. It used to be whereas 99% of the people would get mad at you. Now 96%. Oh, I went through that thing, you know. But me, it's not about parties anymore. It's about who's got the best ideas. During the time when I was working with the Republican Party, it wasn't about them as a party. It was about, I wanted welfare reform. I didn't care who did it. And the Democrats did not want to do that. Now, what did disappoint me about the Republicans was after we got all these laws, they stopped speaking to me. They stopped speaking to Dick Chrysler. They stopped speaking to John Kasich, all the people who had helped them to get ahead. Then they went on to another tangent. When I wrote the book, The Trouble with Politics, this was written to honor Dick Chrysler and the 104th Congress. And they did some good things. And the black community is better off for it. They're much stronger. They got their own schools. They got their own ideas. They got their own businesses. They're starting to walk a new walk and talk a new talk. You can turn on TV now and see them on Bill Rukeyser. You know, Bill Mm-hmm. I could not believe it. I turned on the TV and this lady, she's a black African-American female. Wow, she was sharp as heck, and she had her numbers. Chris, she had her numbers together. And now you turn on all these upper-class shows, and you see my people on there. Before welfare reform, they didn't get involved in stuff like this. No one took them seriously. But since welfare reform, they're out here in this game with me. They're out here fighting in the trenches, and I don't care whether they fight on the Democratic side or the Republican side. I'm just happy to see them out fighting. But insofar as the Republican side go, I am very, very unthrilled with Colin Powell. Not really thrilled with him. I'm not thrilled with what's her name, Condoleezza Rice. These people, I'm just not thrilled with them. Because this particular set of Republicans, this regime, I don't like. I'm sorry, I just do not like this regime of Republicans, and so therefore anybody that's working deep within this core group, I just stay away from them because I think that they've done some. I don't think the ideas that they have are the best. Now, when I wrote this book, you notice how cute the flag is, standing straight as an arrow. But when I wrote this book, I predicted that America was going to be on edge. Just like the title of the show, I predicted that America was going to be on the edge. You notice the flags are askew. The Capitol, everything is all askew. And remember, I told you about these swords crossed. That means war. Now, what happened, I had told the girl to get me some handcuffs, but she didn't have handcuffs. That was all she had. So she put the crossed swords, and I just told her, just keep it. And just about everything in this book. SB 110. I wrote about SB 110. That was the one that gave the INS special powers to check every visa in this country. Of course, Spencer Abraham and the college professors and the college deans, the ones who want to make money off of it, they overthrew that. Of course, the college people don't want everybody checked because people might have to go home and they miss some money. And what Dick Rice and his crew said was that bill was to make sure that drug dealers and terrorists didn't have a free run in this country. It's as plain as day. Nobody listened. Every time you would call Washington and explain to them why you need to do this and why we have to have a moratorium on immigration, they go with that same old story about, well, you know, the country was made of immigrants. And, yeah, but that was 400 years ago. We got to operate on what's going on now. We need to be careful. I used to call almost every day till I was in tears. No one ever listened. until after 9/11. Then, yeah, well, you said. I said, not about what I said. You had your leading legislators pass laws to help you do that. And now they're trying to backtrack now and somehow put together some form of an SB 110. And one of the things that they're trying to do in Michigan, and I hope they've done it, and that's to pass a law that in order to get your driver's license in Michigan, you must prove that you have a green card or you have a visa, you got something that show you really are legally here. Otherwise, you can't get a license. And they did protest against that, but let me tell you, that's the only civilized thing to do. If you can't at least come to my window and prove to me that you truly are an American citizen, get away from here. Don't come back until you can prove it. Because once you get a driver's license, that is the door is open to everything in America, including credit cards, the whole shebang. So now that's one Republican plan. I'm agreeing with that. So it's not the party, it's the issue. Chris, what do you feel about that?
Well, I think one of the issues we have to look at are these huge universities that bring over thousands of students on student visas, and then these people get in our country, and that's the last we hear of them. And the university who has arranged for all this and has the most to gain initially because they get the out-of-state rates on the tuition rates. Once they get a few terms out of these students and then they run off, they claim they have no responsibility. So I think at some point, and I think I agree with you, this whole immigration visa situation has to be looked into and overhauled now that we're basically seriously overhauled now that we're basically in a war type
because
footing.
Of it.
And I think that the American people, now that the World Trade Center situation is dissipated a little bit, are thinking that we're back on track. Well, this is just a break between their next hit on us. So, but at any rate, these large universities that bring these foreign students in need to be responsible for making sure that they leave the country when their schooling is up.
Yeah, because 15 of the terrorists were here on student visas. And
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. And they were all able to, they had credit cards and...
because they had a driver's license. Yep.
So.
Yep, that is really sad. America on the edge, people. It's very, very sad. And America really doesn't have to be on this edge. It's little things that you do that cause problems. Like it's a little thing to say that you can't get a license unless you can prove you're here legally. It was a little thing just to check everybody to come in. It'd be little stuff. Like with Enron, it was little stuff. Even I think I was the only one in the country who really had Chris from day one all the way down to December the 6th. Me and Chris, we sat here. It was Bill Belger. It was Ling Brewer. It was Eleanor Renfrew of the Reform Party. Oh, it was person after person after person who came on this show and just swore this woman don't know what she's talking about. How could those people possibly be manipulating Silicon Valley? How could they be possibly manipulating oil and gas prices? But Chris, one more thing that came out the way I said it, and it was little stuff that could show you that something was wrong. When Time Magazine reported shortly after I told everybody, Time Magazine, you remember I read the magazine to you and to Chris on this show, and it said everything was coming because Kenneth Lay said so. Well, remember I had already told you about it in this book here. I don't have my glasses on here. Oh, you remember this chart? Ken Lay chart. He's in here. Oh, Ken has, see one, where Kenny at? I don't have my glasses on. Oh, there he is. Ken Lay, Enron E&E, Enron EXG. And here's one of his SPEs down here. 74% the stock went up right shortly after they knew that Bush was going to be the nominee. And I got concerned immediately. I have to start thinking and looking behind the scenes of these issues. See, y'all just look at what they show you. And I'd be way back in the back looking at why. And I knew it. And then all this other stuff started to happen. Energy prices going up across the country. Then stock market's crashing. Stock market's coming back online, everybody except the .coms. So, oh, what is it now? Then I read in Time magazine, .com world was falling the same way I told you. Because I told you what was going on in Silicon Valley. No one wanted to listen. It was little stuff that was the cause of the fall of Enron. People just were not paying attention to detail. So now, as a result, you got tens of thousands of people out of work and who are not going to get paid, and you got a nasty little backlash going throughout the 401k world and also throughout the Social Security world. There are many people who were gung-ho. Let me get my Social Security in that stock market. But you know, I sat here on this show and I told you time after time after time, don't even consider it. You keep at least one thing that you know the stock people can't mess with. I had a couple of guys, oh, they were astute and they were erudite. And oh, Christine, you know what you're talking about? Oh, you can, stocks are just fine. You can always put yourself, oh, you can't do that. So now, people, you haven't heard not one single word, have you, about putting Social Security in the stock market. And some of these same people who helped take Enron out were the same ones. You remember I showed you the one about the sharks are back? The same sharks that I told you. Same thing. What do you think, Chris?
Well, Christine, a lot of your viewers, and I can include myself in that, aren't well heeled enough to worry too much about the stock market. Mm-hmm. But the Enron, I think that it's a disservice to not be involved with the stock market with a portion of your portfolio. And I think that the younger you are, the more options you have. If you're 21 years of age and you want to invest 25% of your savings into the S&P 500, which is a diversified type mutual fund that is a broad spectrum of the whole stock market, I think that's a wise decision. But the thing to point out with the Enron situation is that what we have here we have some people at the top that appear to be crooked. We have an accounting firm that is in charge of examining their books to make sure that their accounting procedures are on the uppity up for the stockholders, and that wasn't done. We have a whole slew of checks and balances that weren't checked, and for that reason, that opened the door for this type of chicanery to go on. Mm-hmm. But the fact remains that we have just gotten out of this huge bull market. For the almost the whole 80s and the whole 90s, people made money in the stock market. So for some of your viewers, for their whole life, people have been making great returns in the stock market. And if you take from 82 to 99 at the end of this run here that we've had, a 1,000% increase in value in your investment. So there's big money to be made. Unfortunately, when you invest in the stock market, there's higher risk. And so, each person has to understand that the draw on Social Security now, I think you have to be, for my age, you have to be 67 to retire. And the phenomenal amount of money you need to exist in your older age now. I think that you have to realistically look at not only your Social Security, but your other investments, and a part of that is going to be stocks when you're younger. Now, when you start getting to retirement age, you need to switch your portfolio over to less risky investments like bonds and real estate and things like that. But the stock market is here to stay. The people that wanted to put a portion of your Social Security into the stock market were in the 5 to 15 to 20% bracket for your Social Security investments. That was a way to accrue more money for your payout after you retire. And I think eventually, this is a bad sting that's happened on these people down in Houston, and it's reverberated through the whole market. Mm. But I think eventually the one good thing that's come out of this, and that should come out of this, is that the accounting procedures that these Fortune 500 companies use are going to come under close scrutiny.